Good evening, everyone. We've got 10 minutes, there's 6 slides at 10 seconds and perhaps 9 a little later. These are a bunch of early people waiting for the cricket to start on the Melbourne cricket ground in 1854. So there's a big clock in the centre because cricket and time are very, very significant. The gable roofs are etched in a Gothic style, and they had to crunch up the top sort of material to be able to get it around the clock. It's the first grandstand of 13 that has existed at the MCG. Tim showed that slide, but he didn't talk about the stand that went around at the back of the facility. That's 1864, approximately 25 years after the foundation of Melbourne, but it then became the People's Ground, and it has cricket played by Victoria and from New South Wales. So by that time, the sense of competition in Australian sport is already well understood. So well understood that by 1879 was the first match under lights of any kind of football ground or soccer ground in any part of the world. And I think they're either gas lamps or candles, but I can't believe that they could see the ball, so I think they're in a mammoth kind of ruck there. But the sense of drama that brings about playing games at night is an initiation that we had here in Melbourne. The other initiation is in 1880s. By that time, Australian rules football had been invented, and they were only allowed to play outside the cricket ground on the hill coming down from the Hilton. So the Edwardian stand that's here is really a stand that has a rooftop viewing where the seats change between watching the cricket and then swinging the back around like the old trams had, and then you could watch outside the ground to see the football. So the sense of the imagination of the architect was in great disbelief, and some of the Melbourne Cricket Club people didn't think that this could happen. Anyway, nobody fell off the roof and there was no litigation. By 1911, games were really very significant, and you can see by the numbers there, up to 70, 80,000 people, mostly standing, mostly wearing felt hats, some boaters, and there were really, truly Edwardian stands, and the existing top of the existing stand, I think, was no longer there. You could see the scoreboard at the far right-hand side, but that Edwardian stand is matched really when you go to Sydney Cricket Ground, and you can still see it there today. In 1956, the games came, as was mentioned earlier, and so there were 3 stands. The northern stand is on the eastern side, on the right-hand side of the screen. And then the members' stand of 1928, and then another stand a bit earlier than that, perhaps 1935. But the big western stand, and the one that we replaced in 1992, is the stand that was built during the Depression to get work for people and became a very strong stand, 2 tiers, but bench seating, and no particular distance between the seats like you've got here now. So in 1990 or so, we were commissioned to design a new stand to replace that stadium. And it's a 4-tier stand, and its arrival point is manufactured by drawing the way in to the outside of the stand. And so you can see a series of steps coming down to meet the ground, and as you walk up, so you can see people climbing the stairs. And so both sets of stairs are showing you people climbing up to then get into the stand and look down. There are other aspects of that whereby there's a great sculptural piece called The Wave by Tony, I've forgotten his name now, but a great sculptor, Tony Pryor, who was a fantastic sculptor of this period and unfortunately died not just about the time we were putting it up. When you look at architecture, I want people to read what's going on in the architecture we do, just to be able to say that the ramps that are on the outside have got a whole series of heads marching up to see, as opposed to the stairs. And it really is a period of time when stadia had moved on from what I would call the defensive mechanism, where nobody was allowed to go in. They were all sort of corrugated iron fences, barbed wire, bottle tops. And if you think of the suburban grounds, things were missing. So here we are with those 4 arrows showing you getting into the 1992 Southern Stand. The other 3, 1968 Ponsford Stand and the member stand of 1928, had to be removed a little later than this. So the way in which stands are structured has to do with a certain form of concrete space to build the mass to get people into seats safely, but then to lift up the rear tier with a very strong armature of sculptural steel itself, to put a truss in upside down, to pull the tension and to get the sense of an athleticism that you can see in the stand today. And in the other side of the stadium, you'll see it also with a lighter weight structure that we've done more recently. When you're inside the stand, there's a great wall of faces. And what you really have to think about is that if the back of the stand is turning its back on the railway line, then I want to see people's faces animating the space in which the relationship between the player and the spectator become alive, just as it is here now and just as it is in a ballet theatre or musical theatre. There are 45,000 people in this stand, and you can't build the upper deck any steeper than that, or people will fall over and drop down. That's the elevation of the end of the section that I was showing you, and therefore this sense of connectedness in a stand of this kind is built upon sponsorships of sponsors' boxes, but a wall of faces that continually build up and don't show in some of the American stadiums the whole splashy appearance, because Australians, I think, in a democratic sense, value each of us being there and wanting to see the game. There are no columns in this one, but it's a backstage cantilever. Tim opened the innings by saying, really, we were thinking about the city. And this brief chat is really about the city and the stadium, and how we judge and think about architecture can be judged from its meaning, which is point 5, can be judged by its structure, point 1, but within it we have to think about the typology, which is content, then form, and then expression. So those 5 things are sort of elements that you can analyse in all forms of architecture, literature, and music. And so structure, content, form, expression and meaning are very significant. Oops, there we go. Right now, 2006, for the Commonwealth Games, the city lit, and the far stand is of course the new northern stand, which takes me back to the kind of lighting that people were dealing with in the 1880s. Thank you very much. My final slide is about St Patrick's Cathedral. You'd be surprised. What we've done is cut the nave off in half, and then on the other half shown the exterior and the interior. And so what I want to show you is the 2 faces of architecture. It's a bit like Picasso's Marie Therese, where you can see her in elevation and then you can see her in profile. So we have to read architecture in a comprehensive way. We have to note that we're thinking about the interior and manufacturing the exterior, or we can manufacture the exterior and then think about the interior. So both those faces have to come together, and that's why I admire William Wardell's work. You can see it took a long time to get going. 1858 groundbreaking, 1897 consecrated, it stopped by the boom, and then completed in 1939. And we should all admire the same 5 points in this building that I've suggested to you. Thank you very much.